Welcome to the wonderful world of Stu. Have you guys seen the latest hilarious bunny video? You gotta check this out. This is awesome. Now listen closely. He's about to make a noise. Listen. It's a screaming bunny, or more accurately, some person screaming loudly at the same time a bunny opens its mouth. The internet was worth it after all, now we know. But while you're online looking for bunnies, you instead get panic about things like the evil sequester. That's the scary, automatic, across-the-board spending cuts that are going to shut down society. You need a way to find the truth. So send me what irritates you online at Stu on the Blaze, and we'll help you get a little antisocial. Drama queen Nancy Pelosi tweeted, "If the GOP allows the sequester, 70,000 kids off Head Start, 10,000 teacher jobs at risk, 370,000 mentally ill go untreated. Oh no! Mentally ill people will wander aimlessly around your neighborhood with their hands flailing in the air. It will be like a mentally ill zombie apocalypse. Panic!" Thank God Nancy is there to warn us. The sequester is so scary. This is what progressives are passing around. This is sequestration. He's holding a knife, see? To ward off the mentally ill fired Head Start teaching killer zombies. But you don't have to be Nancy Pelosi and look like you have a skin-colored piece of saran wrap pulled across your face at all times to be terrified of sequestration. Lots of people are doing that. Take a moment and bask in the melodrama. Leon Panetta said, "For those of you that have ever seen Blazing Saddles, it is the scene of the sheriff putting the gun to his head in order to try to establish law and order. That's sequestration. I've been extremely vocal about our deep concerns." Congresswoman Linda Sanchez said, "Reckless cuts could jeopardize the economic recovery." Senate Democrats even released a statement. "These austerity measures would exponentially devastate our economy. We cannot keep slashing domestic spending." A rep from the national parks even commented, "These cuts will result in reductions to visitor services, hours of operation, shortening of seasons, not season shortening, plus the possibility of closing areas." Republican Mitch McConnell said the release of a report detailing the budget highlights its crippling effect these reductions will have on our nation's security. And Lindsey Graham said, blah, 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 hurts special education, something about cancer, blah, blah, blah. Sequestration was the dumbest thing we've ever done. Put it all together, and you realize that it's a gun to the head, deeply concerning, reckless and jeopardizing, exponentially devastating, slashing, season-shortening, area-closing, crippling, special education, hurting, cancer-promoting, dumbest, no good, very bad sequestration thing. Just a little over the top, don't you think? Especially since Congress spends money like they're meth addicts. So to show how devastating these cuts are, do we have drug dealers here? I hope so. We decided to illustrate it in drugs. Now, this is all going to be to scale. I hope you know that. And how do I know that? Well, first of all, I buy a lot of drugs. Or I just Googled the street value and made an Excel sheet. One of the two. If our government does all these drugs, that's kind of their thing, right? So we got these over here, I got these over here. What do the devastating cuts to their supply look like? For comparison's sake, let's take a quick picture of the starting point. Eileen, can you help me on this? Take a quick picture. Let me get up here with the drugs. Sexy, or how did that come?
Very sexy.
Yeah?
Super sexy.
Could you see my gut? Was it too much? No? Okay, good. So if the sequestration actually happened, Congress would lose this bag, this one, and this one. These little tiny bags here, yeah, they'd lose all of these drugs. Wow. That's all the drugs they'd have left. I mean, it's barely enough for an all-night bender with Charlie Sheen and the acquisition of only 2 or 3 STDs. How else could you describe this lack of drugs except that it's a gun to the head, deeply concerning, reckless and jeopardizing, exponentially devastating, slashing, season-shortening, area-closing, crippling, special education hurting, cancer-promoting, dumbest, no good, very bad sequestration thing? But the addiction doesn't stop there. By the time the next president takes office, all the drugs I just took off the table are right back on the table. Within 4 short years, we'll be doing the same friggin' amount of drugs that we were before. And when the next election happens, we'll have dumped even more drugs back on the pile. Now, these drugs just represent discretionary spending. We're not even looking at mandatory spending. Mandatory is defined, do we have more drugs? Mandatory is defined as required by law. Of course, in this case, if I get a little philosophical here, the same people who spend the discretionary also make the laws that create the mandate that makes the mandatory mandatory. So aren't they both kind of discretionary? I digress. If you just take the increase in the mandatory over the same period, you have to add all of these new drugs to the table. Now, Eileen, one more picture, if you will. This time, we'll take this one and we'll put it side by side so people can see. Hold on, let me just carve up the line here. Okay. Good? Is that going to look good on my monster.com resume page? Okay, good. To review, here are the results of those gun to the head, deeply concerning, reckless and jeopardizing, exponentially devastating, slashing, season shortening, area closing, crippling, special education hurting, cancer promoting, dumbest, no good, very bad sequestration thing. It's enough to make you want to start to do all of these actual drugs. But progressives make it sound like any little cut will have criminals released from prison, teachers out of work and homeless, and bridges crumbling on top of cancer patients, not to mention mentally ill people flailing around your cul-de-sac. I guess maybe they have information on some episodes in our country's history that we don't know about.